Our next speaker, who also hopes to revise the Columbus situation, is Mark Noble, running for City Council. Mark?
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Noble, and I wanted to thank you all for coming out to another Ohioans for Concealed Carry Party in the Park event. I've been coming to these since the very beginning, and in fact it was conversations and suggestions from some of the speakers at those events that encouraged me to start running for public office myself. You know, something I've seen time and again is the introduction of legislation aimed squarely at depriving your right to own firearms and use them effectively to defend your life, your liberty, and your property. We occasionally hear these laws when proposed at the national level. Groups like the NRA, Gun Owners of America, who has endorsed me in the past with their highest rating, and the Second Amendment Foundation sound the alarm and work to extinguish another blaze set to engulf our constitutionally protected liberties. But these laws do not originate at the top. They rise up from below. The kind of people hosting and attending this event also pay close attention to legislation at the state level. This is where state-level groups like Ohioans for Concealed Carry have been invaluable. They propose new legislation, coordinate support, educate legislators, and ultimately win us enhanced freedoms. It's due to the hard work of the leaders and volunteers of organizations like OFCC that have created the pro-Second Amendment climate we enjoy today. This is where gun owners have had many of their successes, but anti-gun legislation still crops up, and it comes from below. This anti-gun legislation comes from the mayors and city leaders of large metropolitan areas. These areas where failed policy has created desperate populations who wage street battles against rival factions. Our lives and our liberties are in the crosshairs. I grew up not far from this park, Liberty Park, in Liberty Township, along Liberty Road. My home was on a plot of land called Liberty Acres. And I was born on July 3rd, 1976, just hours before the bicentennial of our nation. You might say I've had liberty on my mind for my entire life. You've heard about the incident in Canton where a citizen was treated in a downright criminal manner by a police officer with contempt for our liberties. But Canton is not the only urban area where your rights are imperiled. As part of my campaign running for City Council, I've been attending their weekly meetings. They follow a fairly straightforward process. An agenda is published, people may speak to the issues on that agenda, and then the council members rubber stamp the resolution. Right now it's an all-Democrat majority, it's a monopoly. Big city politics at its best. Around the time of one of the meetings in May, Governor Kasich was about to sign legislation into law that would expand our freedom to defend ourselves in a wide array of venues statewide. Several members of Columbus City Council took issue with that. Council members Craig, Klein, Miller, and Mills introduced a surprise resolution, and this prevented anyone from speaking against it, that strongly urged a veto of this important legislation. Of these members, 3 of them are opponents of mine on the ballot this fall. I took issue with a number of their claims. I don't know if you've seen some of these bills, but they always start off with whereas, and then they state a fact. Well, these are their facts. That City Council and Mayor Coleman respect the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and the rights of law-abiding citizens to own and carry firearms for personal protection with the proper permits and paperwork. See, I call that the Constitution. That's my permit. That the City of Columbus and law enforcement and civic and neighborhood leaders are having a significant impact on reducing gun violence. Now, I did a little bit of research into this claim, and all I can find lately are news stories is, you know, another weekend with 8 shootings in Columbus, you know. So I wouldn't want to pat myself on the back for that record. They also said that allowing permit holders to carry concealed weapons in bars, restaurants, and open-air arenas that serve alcohol is counterproductive to the City of Columbus's efforts to reduce gun violence. And then this was a really great one that surprised me. I have a lot of friends who are bar and restaurant owners. They said that restaurant owners in Columbus and throughout Ohio would be put in the position of enforcing Ohio gun laws. So apparently we're going to be issuing them badges and sending them through a PATA training academy. Finally, the assertion that the right to self-defense in the presence of alcohol is just unpopular, and that the decision to respect one's liberty exists at the pleasure of a democratic popularity contest. So I took issue with some of these, with all of these points, and this really made up the body of it. If you want to read the entire document, it's scanned, and I posted it as an example of what we're up against. It's on my Facebook page, so just search for Mark Noble. It's in the documents section there, and you can share that widely as well. After a brief speech where my opponent, City Council President Andrew Ginther, who you may know replaced our good buddy, anti-gun City Council President Mike Mental, he was the father of the assault weapons ban. He explained that Ginther explained that he's actually the fiercest supporter of our Second Amendment rights on council. And then they proceeded to unanimously vote in favor of the resolution. So this and other incidents at the local level illustrate that the battle to protect our Second Amendment freedoms must also be fought on local battlefields. Many of the laws we fight against start at the city level. For example, right now Mayor Coleman is looking for ways to shut down lawful gun shows in Columbus. Columbus is my city, and it's where I live. I have ancestors that go back. I've got a dispatch article about the Quinn murders. One of my great-great-great-grandfathers was murdered in a bar in Columbus in the 1800s. He was a railroad laborer. I wonder if the outcome might have been different if he had been armed. People from around the region, though, the state and the nation, visit Columbus for business and pleasure. They shouldn't have to check their liberties at the door. When we have to take it back from the supposedly pro-Second Amendment wolves in sheep's clothing that are city council members. So how is the average person supposed to combat such a threat? Well, you have to ask, how are these people allowed to remain in office? They have no appreciation or understanding for our Constitution, or worse yet, willful ignorance in pursuit of a personal agenda. Two recent Supreme Court decisions, Heller in D.C. and McDonald in Chicago, underscore the protections against infringements to our Second Amendment liberties. It's nothing short of lawlessness when our elected officials ignore not just the Constitution, but key decisions from our nation's highest court. If they continue, they put the taxpayers at risk of having to defend indefensible laws, as was the case not long ago in Cleveland. Cleveland lost and the taxpayers were left to pay the legal bill. You've heard it time and again, don't underestimate the power of the average person. The power of the word no. Don't be afraid to tell your elected officials no. You can do it with a phone call. You can do it with a letter or a letter to the editor. You can do it through your vote in November. My name is Mark Noble, and I'm the only NRA certified firearms instructor in the race. I'm endorsed by the Buckeye Firearms Association, and I'm running against Michelle Mills, Zach Klein, Herschel Craig, and Andy Ginther. To help me to protect the individual right to defend ourselves and our families, we can do this while fighting the root causes of the crime and violence. To that end, I believe that a phone call matters, I believe that a letter matters, and I believe that a vote matters. I'm Mark Noble. I'm running for City Council to protect your Second Amendment rights. Thank you.